week we're talking about accounting systems. And this is a very informational chapter. It's really an important one because it's a crossover or takes you from the manual system to a computerized accounting system, which is, I would have to venture to say, at least 85 to 90% of all accounting you will now encounter in the world, or at least in the U.S. So let's kind of begin. It asks you a question about the very first one, about getting a better accounting system, and it wants you to consider the features of an effective system and select which ones you think most important. Here's a couple of suggestions. You may have different suggestions. Think about these and expand on them, or come up with other features that you think are very important to the to buying a computerized system, accounting system. There are others, so this is to get you started. The next one they ask you about, the next question is to look at the components of a computerized accounting system and to match. These are your options, and these would be your definitions. The third one is kind of my favorite kind of question when we're looking at accounting, especially with terminology as a crossword. It kind of challenges you in several ways. So you will find all these questions in the chapter that we're working on. And finally, for question 4, this one is looking at inventory. Yeah, it's looking at inventory. It's an account of inventory. It's looking at accounts and account numbers and how we number them, how we make that decision. It's going to ask you to choose from some numbers and kind of try to decide which account it goes with. So that's kind of going to be, look in the book, look at your numbers, and then you will have to know what these accounts are. Are they assets? Are they liabilities? Are they equity? Are they, revenues, expenses? Where do they show up at? And that'll tell you what the number is, what account number you'll use. Now we move to 5, and 5 can be a very confusing question. So what I'm going to ask you to do is get into that textbook, write out what each one of these journals will, or what you record in each one of these journals, because even though you think you have it in your mind, you will forget when you come down here and start matching. So go into the textbook and write out what each journal, write out what each journal involves. What kind of transactions are put into the sales journal? What kind of transactions are put into the cash receipts? Write that out here. We have room. And then start answering these questions. And be very careful with how you analyze it. Then for 7, we have an extra page here. Isn't that nice? For 7, we're going to compare making journal entries versus making specialized entries in a specific journal. And you'll find between the two that when you actually, setting these two up and running both of them, this is quicker, and I'll even give you the answer here. But what you'll find even more so, much more quicker, is when you post to the general ledger with these, because you aren't doing individual entries. So fill this out and see which one you like best. See which one you would prefer using, and then write an answer down here for me. I've put the accounts in here. I think you should be able to follow that fairly closely by the book. Here is just the account name or the vendor name. And here you would go with your account names over here. And this right here are for accounts that aren't found here. You will find that it's really very clear in the book. And if you go to the very last one, we're going to ask you to fill out a cash payments journal. Again, you're going to look at the account that's being debited. Here's other accounts. Here's your accounts payable. Here's your inventory. And here's your cash. Now, again, this would be vendor account. Okay? The very first one, they tell you, I'll get you started on this. The very first one is to Raven Associates. So you would type in Raven here. You would look at the amount. We're not doing anything with terms here right now. So we paid $490. Oh, see, we were... Okay, so now Raven, you paid $490 in cash. Now, first of all, you have to remember that. That's your benchmark. But it had a $10 discount to it if you paid it within a certain amount of time. So that meant the original accounts payable was $500. And when that was recorded originally, it went into inventory as a full amount. So now you have to credit inventory to lessen or decrease the amount of value assigned to that particular inventory. So that would be Raven. Now let's do just a couple more. We purchased inventory for cash. Now, even though we have inventory over here, it is only set up for debits. So that is going to be inventory as a descriptor, and it would go under other accounts. $1,100. And then the credit over here would be for cash. So you have to be very careful that the way the cash payment is set up, the journal, is it only has accounts here that are used a lot, often. Other accounts that are used minimally would end up here. And your account many times, okay, you would put in parentheses right here the account number. So when you go to post these, you're able to just post them directly to the general ledger in that matter. We'll do one more and then I'm going to let you do the rest on your own. So 9, on the 9th, August 9th, they paid $300 for supplies. So again, there's no supplies over here, so it's going to be another account. You're going to type in supplies. Again, there's never too much information, okay? There's not a thing as too much information here. So that was for $300, and then you would do $300 in cash. So you can see how this would be a little bit quicker than a journal entry, especially when you look at posting this to the general ledger, because before you would have to post each one of these individually, and now you will post them in total. So play with this. The mechanics of using journals all depend on what kind of form is being used. So it's just a matter of getting used to the procedure. The concept is the same. You're crediting and debiting accounts and creating the first transaction recording before it goes into the general ledger. So I don't think there's any more, is there? Nope, that's the end. So we'll end that. Thank you, and I'll see you in 7-2.